In awe, you watched the simultaneous TV and radio broadcast battle with Vox, the TV demon, and Alastor, the radio demon. For 7 years, Alastor had vanished, leaving everything and everyone behind without warning. Honestly, half of hell thought he died during an extermination somehow. It was truly magical hearing his voice again, just as enchanting as it was during the first time you heard it. Your body wiggled back and forth as you listened, but just as quickly as you started, it was over. Honestly, if it were up to you, that song could have gone on for 3 minutes longer. After all, Vox and Alastor had a lot of history together, especially since their mediums were related, and could have probably thrown more shit at each other. But the finale was even more unbelievable. As Alastor caused a temporary electrical outage in the entire circle, and as the demons around you took the opportunity to loot, you just stood there with a dumb smile, your body feeling hot all over. People who go to hell were referred to as sinners, while people who went to heaven were called winners or innocent. But hell had its very own breed of winners. It was unknown how it was decided, but some sinner-born demons were just more powerful than others. Of course, there were ways to procure power. The most common one was making soul contracts, though most demons were too weak to uphold more than 2 or 3 at a time. And demons who were especially strong were referred to as overlords. Officially becoming an overlord was easy, on paper. Be powerful, be feared, and be influential enough that you could change the course of hell. The stronger they were, the higher their rank. And Alastor, he was top tier. You were one of the very few genuinely employees he had. Of course, it was more for appearances than anything else. After all, you can't be an overlord on power alone. 7 years ago. Back then, Alastor had territory, drug operations, and yes, even a small, quite neglected girl business. You being one of the demons he pimped out. He set up the operation in small and rarely if ever interacted with it. Alastor truly only cared about himself and his radio show, with you and his other businesses being more of an obligation he had to follow, though it did give everyone working under him a strange sort of freedom. It was almost enjoyable. You turned away from the looters. Having heard your master's voice again filled you with dark desires and needs, and so you followed the radio static. Working so long under Alastor, you could feel his power, you could hear it. You just need to be quicker than Vox was right now frantically trying to get the energy greed back under control. You ran as fast as you could. They guided you to the outer layer of the circle, to a less populated area. But by then, the lights were back on, and the crackles were gone. Sad, you grabbed your left arm, hugging yourself tightly, completely out of breath, sitting down on the cracked, dried-out sidewalk. You tried calming your body as well as you could. You had been without guidance for so long, drifting, walking, existing, days becoming a slurry of colorful memories. Hell had turned from fire and brimstone into a 24/7 assault on the senses. Losing yourself in the moment. Hearing Alastor's voice again was like finally seeing a shape in the mess again. He had given your existence a goal and meaning, even if all you did was sleep around for money. It had a goal behind it. You stood up, so quickly you were dizzy for a moment. The static had guided you here. Perhaps it was closer than you thought. All you needed to do was search for a radio studio or tower. How difficult could that be? Well, as it turns out, very. As it was deep in the night, when you finally carried yourself to a place that seemed promising. A large building with a large front yard and a gate, a neon sign above reading Has-Been Hotel. On its side, growing out of it like a mushroom did a tree, hung a somewhat rinky-dink radio tower with a small capsule-like building beneath, which just barely could fit a recording studio in it. It was a small hope, but it was still a hope. You walked forward, with the confidence of a person who is entirely unaware of everything around them. The gate luckily was unlocked, and so you walked along the courtyard. The path a mix of gravel and dirt. The plants around you decently withered. There was an attempt made at creating something a human would consider inviting, but hell's unfriendly atmosphere made this nearly impossible. You did see green trees in a large region of the circle that was under the control of the Overlord Zestial. Probably one of the oldest souls in hell. He seemed to have it figured out all without burning out like many others did. Heart pounding, you entered the building's door, unlocked. To your surprise, it was actually quite cozy inside. The air in hell was polluted and hot, but in here it was room temperature. You took a few steps forward. The building seemed old and you heard it creak and groan. It was like entering a haunted house, except that it seemed more friendly. Walking into the hotel's lobby, to your right was a small lounge area with sofas and a fireplace. On your left stood a bar with a familiar face sleeping on it. Noticing him, you quickly scuttled forward, your face getting uncannily close to the snoring demon until... "Husk!" you said out loud in surprise. The demon jumped up, almost falling into the bottles behind him. Yeah, what the hell? Oh, God! The cat demon shook his head, rubbed his eyes, and then looked you up and down. Who the fuck are you? Wait a second. You're... He stopped mid-sentence. He remembered you. Somewhere in his mind there was a name. You Irene! Slowly erased his finger before gasping. Yeah, one of the chicks Alastor was pimping out. You look like shit. You crossed your arms, blushing. You try surviving without your boss? You deadpanned. I mean, I used to be the boss. Besides, the red prick has my soul, so not like there's any surviving without him. Right. Instinctively, Husk reached for the cherry vodka in the mini-fridge behind the counter. He knew you liked your fruity drinks. He made you a glass. What the hell is a lost soul like you doing here? Shouldn't you be down there crying all the time? You scratched the back of your head. What do you mean, lost soul? I'm not corrupted. In hell, the term had more of a deeper meaning. Demons who lost their will to live were called lost souls or lost sinners. Their bodies would darken, their eyes becoming milky. They usually lived in a place called Undercity. Considered downers, they spent most of their days moping, uselessly wandering Undercity streets, sometimes going to the surface to finally find their end at the hands of an angel, or just by accident, really. They weren't hated, but also not respected. They were practically invisible, like homeless people. Am I a lost soul already? You looked down at yourself. The answer to that was, kinda. Your arms up to their elbows had turned completely jet black, being a little more shiny than your regular skin. So did your legs up to the groin. You haven't looked in the mirror for a while, haven't you, huh? You shook your head. Snapping his fingers, Husk pointed towards a mirror. Cautiously and intimidated, you approached it. and gasped as you looked at yourself. Your face looked starved and fallen in. Like an infection, the blackness had spread from your right cheek, enveloping your half of your face. Even your hair, which used to be a beautiful pink, was now nothing but a dirty gray. Considering the advancedness of your transformation, it was more than likely, if you haven't heard Alastor's voice today and went to search for him, in a couple of days you would have fully turned into a lost soul, found your way to the Undercity and just vegetated there.
What the fuck happened to you?
Asked Husk as he stepped behind you with your drink. You took it with an embarrassed hum. Nothing happened, you said with a sad noise. You said with a sad voice.
I'm assuming that's literally, huh?
Husk thought for a moment.
Well, it checks out, I suppose. Not eating, no drinking. Won't kill you after all.
Where's Alastor? You finally asked. You wouldn't be here without him.
I thought you'd be talking about him eventually. You love him.
Husk looked you up and down again. Your clothes were loosely clinging on your frame, hair just hanging down your body. Considering the advancement of your corruption, it was more than likely exterminators already didn't pay attention to you. Lost souls were usually ignored by angels as they were quite low on their priority list, really only going after them if they wanted to increase their quota. This was due to them being quite docile. Perhaps that's how you survived the last 2 or 3 exterminations, on merit alone. Yet still.
I guess I call Charlie. If she says you can stay, meeting with Alastor will be inevitable.
Right. Stepping behind the bar again, Husk took the phone behind the counter, while you sat down on one of the lobby sofas. He thought loudly for a moment before just dialing.
Ah yes, Huska, my friend!
Shit, wrong number.
Alastor snickered.
Oh, really?
Husk sighed, and then smiled evilly. He had an idea.
Actually, maybe not. See, there's an emergency. Can you and Charlie come down?
Sounds interesting, Husk. But if it isn't actually interesting, I'll shave that tail of yours.
The cat hung up the phone without saying another word, grabbed his tail, and sighed.
I guess that's a 50-50.
10 minutes later, a very tired-looking Charlie and a widely grinning Alastor descended the stairs. This was Charlie's second interruption for the night. The first was Sir Pentious being a spy for Vox the entire time, but at least he apologized. And now this. With tired eyes, she looked down into the lobby. While Alastor had an almost smug smile on his lips, Husk stood in the middle of the lobby, arms crossed, while you peeked over the back of the sofa. What's going on, Husk? Muttered Charlie, tired. Snapping his fingers, the cat demon pointed at you. Your eyes widened. Your master was right there. Immediately, Charlie was wide awake. Oh, do we have... Oh my god, we have another member so quickly? She was flipping out, rushing over towards you and hugging you tightly. You coughed as she squeezed. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. The hotel is... We're changing things around so quickly. She was completely losing her mind. You made a noise of discomfort. You haven't been hugged in a while. Meanwhile, Alastor approached, sneering.
What a coincidence,
he mused, his hand slamming on your head.
Charlie, this is an acquaintance of mine. Irene. It's been a while.
He scoffed.
And a while seems to be an understatement.
He was disgusted by your hair. It used to be so vibrant. Finally, Charlie let go of you, allowing you to breathe. Sorry. I'm just really excited. And you know Alastor personally?
Of course. I used to send her out at night to copulate with clients so I get easier deals with them.
Oh, that kind of... She looked at Alastor and then at you. Well, I'm not judging, and I bet her and Angel will have a lot to talk about. It was then she finally noticed your corruption. Something Alastor had already picked up on, and as grossed out as he was by it, he was quite amused by it as well. Oh, you poor thing. She sat down next to you, taking one of your hands. Don't worry, the Hasbin Hotel is a happy place. I'm sure you'll be just as colorful as you were before, in no time. Alastor's finger gingerly scratched over your scalp. Honestly, I was just looking for Alastor. Charlie's grip on your hand lessened a bit. Oh.
Don't Charlie, dear.
Alastor let go of your head. Immediately, you missed his touch. Meanwhile, he tapped Charlie on the head with his cane.
Just because she was seeking me out doesn't mean she won't join the hotel. She just needs a little bit of convincing.
I join whatever, as long as I can be close to him. You said quickly and desperate.
Well. Looks like you're already on a good way.
Alastor seems important to you, huh? You scratched over your shoulder. Well, as he said, I was one of his employees. That's why he's important. Right.
Well, to be honest, I never officially fired her.
You were gone for 7 years! At first, me and the others tried to keep going, just do what you told us last, but we didn't know what else to do, and over the years we were picked off one by the angels. You slapped your hands on your head, exhaling. This was very stressful to think about. Like ants without a queen, thought Alastor with disgust. Nevertheless, he needed to distract you and Charlie from what he could have been doing in those 7 years. This left him only with a few options, especially since Charlie was here. He couldn't just get rid of you easily. His eyes turned to Husk, who looked back at him. Clever cat. Alastor, of course, had his own shadow demons. These puppets were loyal and unbelievably powerful, yet their weakness was the fact that they could only follow a single order before poofing away into non-existence. Plus, even though Alastor would never admit this to anyone, they were quite exhausting to summon, as well as making them maintain their form. As such, a genuine assistant would be quite helpful, though he hoped he could use one of his contractors for that. He opened his mouth only to notice how you and Charlie were already getting along. Okay, that was good. Maybe a change of plans was required.
Irene, darling,
he spoke.
Why don't you join the hotel as a soul awaiting redemption? A lost soul demon like you would be a great for the hotel's efforts in recruitment.
Charlie gasped. She grabbed your other hand. He's right, she squealed, while you forced a smile. The excitable Princess of Hell was way too positive for your liking, but it was manageable. I just want to be close to Alastor, so... Oh, she loves you! Almost unnoticeably, Alastor's static crackled, as he felt as if he had been punished in caring for a mere insect out of sheer unluck. Why don't you set up a room next to him? His eyes widened in horror. He could tell where this was going. and judging by your bright smile, this was... no. He sighed, accepting. He played nice with women before, and with you he didn't even need to try that hard with how devoted you were already to him. Maybe this would turn out to be quite entertaining. He just needed to get through the next few days. See how far you'd be willing to go for him. Be his little rat, perhaps. Plus, you could take charge of his radio station while he wasn't present. He took a step back from the sofa, using the back of his hand to swipe away any lint and dust. He then loudly cleared his throat.
Well, Irene, I have made a decision.
Both you and Charlie looked at him. He offered his hand to you. Annoyed at his obvious fakeness, Husk took a step back, while Charlie gasped excited.
You join our lovely hotel as a redemption seeker and as my assistant until your ascension.
Charlie helped you to get on your feet, as you quickly approached Alastor, taking his hand. He closed his eyes to roll them annoyed, kissing the back of your hand.
Come, my darling. Let me show you to your room.
If there was a point in redemption, if it was even possible, he wanted you to be the first to ascend, just so he no longer had to bother with you. You followed Alastor upstairs. Meanwhile, Husk and Charlie remained in the lobby. You think they're going to do it? She asked with a heavy blush.
Alastor doesn't seem like the type to care for romance.
Husk just deadpanned. He knew Alastor better than anyone. Or at least, that's how he felt.
Why do you care?
She smiled. I just think it would help him on his own path of redemption. Husk barely managed to suppress an outburst of laughter, as if Alastor would ever redeem himself. Meanwhile, the radio demon unlocked a room for you. Not directly next to his, of course, but on the same floor. Though far enough away that you would not bother him. He gently nudged you in.
Now, breakfast is available from 8 to 10, don't be late, and for anything else, such as therapy sessions, go to Charlie. Are you alright, darling? Okay.
He was about to slam the door shut, but you grabbed onto his arm. His eyes widened, as well as his toothy grin becoming more feral, but luckily you didn't notice. Tears were running out of your eyes. I miss you so much, Master. We have so much to talk about. He knew his employees had been loyal, but disloyal? Maybe he should have bothered with more than soul collecting after all. Still, though, the fact you were this close to him without his consent made him quite upset. If only he had your soul, he'd just crush you right here and now, and tell Charlie that you left the hotel. Quietly he pushed air through his teeth. He needed to play nice now, as much as he hated that. He leaned down on your level. He was much taller than you. Yes, darling. With big eyes you looked into his face. His breath smelled of raw beef and coffee. You mouthed the words, I want you, but no sound was actually produced. And then he sighed reluctantly.
Very well,
he said after a moment. He didn't remember you being like this. As far as he knew, you used to be just a common demon. With your own personality, mind, and thoughts, but... His eyes focused on your corrupted white one. Perhaps the fact you were turning into one of these lost souls was the reason as to why. A few shreds of joy and humanity you had still in you, coming together as an obsessive little stalker. Oh well, a little zombie like you was quite useful. Plus, you still had more sense in you than nifty, so you could do more delicate things than her.
If you promise to do whatever I say, I can give you a taste of what good girls get.
I'm a good girl. I am a good girl. Alastor then leaned forward, his lips pressing on yours without warning. Your body shook, excited. He didn't use any tongue, and as he tried to push yours into his mouth, he narrowed his eyes. His lips stayed shut, but at least he placed a hand on the back of your head to pull you closer. He could feel bile coming up his throat, which he managed to swallow. Your lips tasted a little like dirt, and were very dry. Ironically, the few bits of your lip that had blackened were... Ironically, the few bits of your lips that had blackened were sleek and had a slight sweet taste to them. Like a sugary amphibian. Perhaps he should let you transform just a little further into a lost soul demon, so that this was less of a chore. But either way, he was still kissing you, and you were like a puddle in his hand. Your knees weak, arms hanging down in disbelief. How you had yearned for this over the last 7 years. Yearned for the touch of your strawberry pimp. As he released from you, there was a little bit of your spittle connecting his lips to yours, which you quickly swiped away. I'm so sorry, Master.
Boss, times have changed, Irene. Call me boss.
Boss! Yes, of course.
Now. Go take a shower, alright? You reek. And then sleep, I suppose.
The radio demon sighed, finally closing the door. Disgusted, he swiped over his lips. He could still feel you, and it was making him sick. Hey, thank you for watching my video until the very end. I'm very grateful for that, and I would like to ask you to please share the video around on social media so more people can see it. And that's it really. But before we say goodbye, I would like to say thank you to all of my lovely channel members who so lovingly support me. We have Giovanni Moriarty, Twilight Mia, Zoe, Angel, Angry Boxman, Hella, BitBit, Melofia, Anonymous Weep, Zachary, Nicodemus D, and Valerie Wings. Thank you for being wonderful, darling stewards. And of course, let's not forget all of my other lovely darlings who support me. Thank you for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.